Hey everyone, welcome back to Rudy's Sports Business Notes, your 10-minute guide to what's actually changing the playbook for sports marketing. I'm Regine, still living life in board game mode as always, and joined by the ever-strategic Rudy. Today's question: what are the global trends that will totally reshape how fans and brands connect before, during, and way after 2026's big events? This isn't just what's shiny next year, it's how sport marketing is crossing over into tech, storytelling, and, well, actual human emotion.
Yeah, and it's wild. Like just last year, I worked on a fan engagement campaign for an Aussie rules club, and honestly, the classic ticket sales and stadium headcount stuff, not the real measure anymore. We're seeing live attendance tick up, sure, but digital interactions and the way fans respond online are where the energy's shifting. Feels like every engagement metric I used to trust is getting, disrupted by tech and actual fan behavior, right?
Definitely. So here's our lineup. We'll hit the 4 of the 7 big forces shaking up sport marketing. Immersive fan experiences, there's all the cool XR and digital layers that turn watching into doing. Data and personalisation, where it's not just about reaching fans, it's about making everything feel tailor-made. Then, the serious business of women's sport and why it's moving from, side event to centre stage. And finally, purpose-driven sponsorships, or why slapping a logo on the scoreboard just doesn't cut it anymore. Still with me?
And we'll give just enough examples to make your next marketing meeting less "I saw this on LinkedIn" and more "here's why it matters" in US and beyond.
All right, let's go full-on immersion. We're talking about how the line between spectator and participant is honestly blurring. According to Deloitte, more than 60% of global sports execs now say fan immersion via digital tech is a top priority. That's not just a let's try AR on a whim thing. It's becoming the job.
Yeah, and if you're not experimenting, you're basically playing catch-up. I was reading about the NBA's League Pass Multiview. It uses Microsoft Azure. You can stream up to 4 games, switch camera angles, even get custom AI-generated highlights. That's not just hype. The average user's watch time has actually gone up. People want to play with the content, not just watch passively.
It kind of reminds me of my board game nights, where suddenly everyone's using smart devices to add layers, vote in real time, or trigger weird pop-up challenges. It's less who wins and more how do we all stay involved? Which makes me wonder, Rudy, how can Aussie clubs, especially with Gen Z, bring that home stadium vibe alive with AR overlays, or even VR previews for sponsors' lounges or fan clubs? Is anyone here close to trialling that yet?
Honestly, a few are starting with small AR matchday apps, like show your ticket at the gate and get animated stats, but nowhere near what the NBA or even some Premier League clubs are doing. I think the gap is, who builds those creative tech partnerships now, versus waiting for 2026 and hoping to catch up when everyone else is 3 steps ahead. The next 2 years are going to decide who knows their audience and who just copies the tech for show.
Speaking of knowing your audience, data personalisation is the actual revolution happening faster than you'd think. So, the big number. According to Nielsen, 73% of rights holders now say that personalisation, not just hitting mass reach, is their ticket to revenue growth. It's wild. Think Netflix-style recommendations for everything from highlight reels to merch to digital tickets.
And the payoff is real. Deloitte reckons predictive analytics can bump digital campaign conversions up by 25%. That's not small potatoes. The NBA's partnership with Microsoft, again, they're everywhere. They've got this tool called Court Optics, which personalizes every feed. So if you only ever want to see, say, 3-pointers by your favorite player, that becomes your experience. Suddenly 1 million fans have 1 million different NBA stories. But there's a catch.
You mean trust? That's the bit I always get stuck on when researching. It's fine to collect data, but YouGov found just 62% of fans are cool with sharing their preferences, and even less actually trust teams to protect it. Transparency matters, big time.
Right, so how do Australian clubs stand out in that? If everyone's racing to build a data lake, maybe it's about communicating, here's how we use your info, and here's the cool custom stuff you get in return. In my view, those that offer a clear value exchange and show genuine care, maybe even giving fans some control over what data's used, will win. It'll be interesting to watch who leads in building that ethical, transparent fan journey here.
Let's get to my favourite trend. Women's sport is, at last, getting its commercial due. Deloitte projects that global revenues will hit $2.35 billion this year, a 25% year-on-year jump. And get this, more than 70% of sports fans now follow at least one women's sport. It's not a side bet anymore, it's essential business.
Yeah, and it shows in the numbers. Social engagement on women's leagues is outpacing men's, sometimes by 25%. The WNBA just broke an all-time record 1.3 million viewers per game, driven by athlete-led storytelling and brands like Nike pushing for empowerment. It's that funny blend of authenticity and narrative that's connecting with Gen Z fans, especially hard.
Totally reminds me of this one improv competition at uni where our all-female team outdrew the men's final. Everyone expected the usual crowd, and then, boom, lines around the block, because people love a new story. So, Rudy, what stops clubs from making women's sport a core brand pillar and not just a yearly campaign or token event? Is it just habit, or something deeper?
Look, old thinking dies hard, but honestly is shifting fast. The next leaders will be those who systemize, not just celebrate women's sport. That means not only running a big pride round, then going silent. It's about year-round merch, dedicated staff, community activation, all-in fan journeys. Treat it like the core product, and returns both brand and commercial will flow. Anything less is leaving opportunity on the table in 2026 and beyond.
All right, on to partnerships with a purpose. Sponsorships in 2025 are way past slapping logos onto the corner flag. Younger fans, especially Gen Z, want brands that show up for what matters. Nielsen says 83% would rather buy from a company sharing their values, and 68% are more likely to support one backing a social or environmental cause. Sponsorship is becoming a value statement.
Absolutely. Look at Ali Bank's campaign. They put as much spend behind the NWSL Championship as they did for men's sports, moving it into primetime for the first time ever. Result, 71% uptick in TV viewership, 48% rise in match attendance, and measurable social buzz beyond what any logo could buy. The activation was all about impact, not just impressions.
Here's my big worry, though. Are our local brands and clubs in Australia ready to follow that? Do they even have the social ROI tools to measure what matters? Or are we all just running off feels good until the next reporting cycle?
It really depends. The smarter brands are starting to demand clear metrics, engagement, sentiment analysis, hard data on impact. Sport is uniquely placed to drive and track community outcomes. The challenge is for clubs and sponsors to co-create, not just activate, and to be transparent about what's achieved, not just what's promised.
So, if you string these four trends together, immersion, data, women's sport, and purpose-driven deals, it's honestly more than tech upgrades. It's a full tilt from communication to connection. The future's being built on blending digital tools with actual empathy for how fans want to participate. And, 1 second, double-checking my last stat here. I always trip over this. Yep, Deloitte really did say immersive solutions will drive a huge chunk of the $40 billion of sports tech market by 2026. Didn't want to misquote that.
Love it. So this is only part A, the first 4 game changers. In our next episode, we'll break down commerce integration, the attention economy, and how sustainability is set to become the ultimate brand advantage. Plus, if you want the extra Australia-specific insights, head to the Substack, the article version's live, and linked in the show description.
All right, everyone, stay curious and keep questioning the why behind every hype cycle. Thanks, Rudy. Lovely as always, even if I did nerd out more than expected. Catch you next time.
Thanks, Regine. See you next week for part B. Bye, everyone, and have a great one.